Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Oh, hi, Nikki. Hi.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How
Doing
about
good?
you?
I'm so great. I'm back from a week in Missoula, Montana. And if you are in Montana, in Missoula, you have an amazing town. I loved my time there. I had a fantastic little Airbnb. And apart from the electronics on my car deciding, you know what, we don't want you to go home. I felt like a horror movie. I tried to leave. I got about 10 minutes out of town, stopped at a truck stop, and my car said, nope, you should stay here a couple more days.
You should stay in the truck stop.
Yeah. You should stay in the truck stop. So smelled of diesel, but it was Montana diesel, which is cleaner. I don't know if you know that. It's really lovely. No, we had a great time. We're back to business, though. We are talking about overwhelm and stress, specifically around busy, overwhelmed women with Dr. Lola Day today. We're very excited to have her here. Before we do that, head over to Take Control ADHD. You can get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show right there on the website or subscribe to the mailing list, and we will send you an email each time a new episode is released. You can connect with us on Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest at Take Control ADHD. But if you really want to get to know us, head over to the ADHD Discord community. It's super easy to jump in there. Just visit takecontroladhd.com/Discord, and you'll be whisked over to the general invitation and log in. If you're looking for a little bit more, if this show has ever touched you in some way, helped you live your life better with ADHD, become a patron. Just visit patreon.com/theADHDpodcast, and you will get access to even more secret member-only channels in Discord, a fantastic community, and other incredible resources that we keep trying to create for members, for you to have a better and richer experience with your ADHD community. So patreon.com/theADHDpodcast to learn more. And you know, Nikki, how excited I am for the next thing I have to talk to you about.
Yes.
Which is, it's my favorite thing in the world. This week's episode is brought to you by TextExpander, one of the best invisible tools in my tech tool chest. It is always there. It's always on all my devices, running in the background. TextExpander is just waiting for me to type an abbreviation or a snippet in TextExpander parlance. When TextExpander sees that snippet, it goes to work, instantly expanding from just a few characters that I type into sentences, paragraphs, calculations, pages of text just pop into view. Now, we're going to be talking a lot about overwhelm today, about overcoming the challenges of overload while living with ADHD. If staying on top of your communication and reducing those unforced errors is important to you, you owe it to yourself to check out TextExpander. Here's how it works. First, you find it. If there's something I type more than once, that's a signal I need to add it into TextExpander. Then I store it there. I keep my most used emails, phrases, messages, URLs, and more right in my TextExpander library. A snippet, again, can include text or links or images or code, whatever you want. And then I expand it. I deploy my content whenever I need it with just a few keystrokes, an abbreviation that represents this longer bit of text. And then if I want, I can even share it. I can share it with other individuals or my family, or I can upgrade to a business account with TextExpander and share it with my whole team. It's really, really easy. It's available on Mac and Windows and Chrome and iPhone and iPad. And for listeners of the ADHD podcast, you can get 20% off your first year of service. Just visit takecontroladhd.com/TextExpander, and you'll be whisked over to our page on their site where you can get started. Again, if you get started now, save 20% off your first year subscription. The way we work is changing rapidly. Make work work the way your brain works by saying more in less time with less effort using TextExpander. Our great thanks to TextExpander for sponsoring the ADHD podcast. And you have some news, yeah?
Yes, I am very excited to be talking to you guys about some coaching options coming in October. It's group coaching, something that we haven't offered in a while. We have two different types of groups. One is the ADHD support group, which I will be co-hosting with one of our TCA coaches, Ian. And then we also have an ADHD parents group that we are going to do. It's going to be myself and with another coach from TCA, Aviva. They are both going to be 6 weeks, and the deadline to enroll will be October 19th. So definitely go and visit my website at takecontroladhd.com to learn more about these groups and how to sign up and what they're all about. Very excited to be doing this.
It's very, very exciting. And I love that it's with new TCA coaches.
Yes.
That's so great.
It
That's
is.
so
It's going to
great.
be a lot of fun.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, I think with that news, Nikki, let's go see if we can find Dr. Lola Day.
Let's do it.
Dr. Lola Day is a busy mother, double-boarded physician, lifestyle strategist, and an ADHD-trained life coach for ambitious women. She believes that the right system and strategies, all women can live a wholesome, wealthy, and fulfilled life without overwhelm and without sacrificing their goals, passion, or family. And she joins us today to talk about overwhelm, burnout, stress, and LollieTasking. Dr. Lola Day, welcome to the ADHD podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Peter. Thank you.
We're so
thank
glad
you.
to have you.
So, yes, please tell us a little bit about you. Share your personal journey with ADHD, how you got here. You're doing a lot of things, a lot of special things. So, yeah.
I know, right?
Tell
How
us
did you
some
solve
background.
ADHD?
Yeah.
Hashtag ADHD. So it's my life story. As you guys know, we're multi-passionate people. So my story actually started a long, long time ago in a faraway land. Just kidding. But when I was younger, like looking back, of course, we always had ADHD, right? It's not something that just happens when you grow up, and then when you get older, you're like, oh wow, okay. But when I was younger, I was always like the super ambitious kid, top of my class. I was that one annoying kid in the class that got a 97 and was pissed when everybody else got like a C. I was that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know
And
you.
that was me. I'm sorry, that was me. And but the thing about it is that my passion was learning. I actually loved to learn. And as you know, anything with ADHD, when we follow our passion, we thrive in it, right? So, but at the same time, when I was younger, I was never also the most hyperactive kid, like the typical ADHD kid that you think about, but I was always a daydreamer, you know? And like my teachers would say, I think she's just bored. She's so smart, she's just bored. And for me, I'm like, no, I'm just thinking about the 1,000 other things I'd rather be thinking about.
Right.
Like it wasn't necessarily like I was bored. My brain just goes everywhere. But it wasn't until I think in high school, still top of my class, top 5% of my class, when I would take standardized tests and it just never matched, right?
Oh,
Sure.
right.
Like I would, and my issue, and I knew what my issue was because I've always been a learner, a problem solver. I'm a scientist at heart, right? I like in my program, we talk about how everything is an experiment, right? So in my mind, I've always been like, okay, if it doesn't work, let's do an experiment to figure it. So throughout my life, when things did not work, I would always do experiments to figure it out, aka creating strategies for myself. And I didn't realize I was masking my ADHD with those strategies. Um, so during that time, like I would take my SATs, MCATs, or the various many exams I would take, and I will have anxiety because I knew I made stupid mistakes. I daydreamed during exams. I would never finish, and even with all that, I would still get like an 80 something percentile, right? So like people say, "Oh, you're just not a good test taker, but you're amazing," right? So I still went to UGA, go Dogs. Had a 4.0 GPA going to UGA, still got a scholarship, still did all those, amazing things that, of course, you could not have ADHD and,
Right.
Right.
do all those things. But it wasn't until I got to medical school and I was talking to one of my attendings, which is like our supervising doctors at that time. And she was having a conversation with me and she was like, I just love you like, when we're passionate about stuff with ADHD, we hyper focus on it. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
We're a little bit of a nuisance, when it comes to it. And she was just like, your passion for medicine is just crazy. You're just amazing. And I'm like, yeah. And she was like, I bet you're one of those people that like got a perfect score on your board exam. And my face just went down
Oh.
because like I was the kid that would teach other kids and they would get a perfect score. I never could get a perfect score, right? And of course you couldn't have like a learning disability or anything because you're smart. Like
Yeah.
everybody know you're smart. You get hundreds on everything, but it's just that standardized test score that could not get to where I wanted to be. Talking to some of my friends, they're like, oh, there goes Lola again. you got a 85. Most people got a 70. What's your problem?
Mhm.
But what people didn't realize is for me to get that 85, I would study 3, 4 times as hard.
Yeah.
I would hyper focus on it. Instead of studying for 5 hours like everybody else, I was studying a whole week.
Mhm.
I was sacrificing vacations. One of my friends, ironically, I live in Florida now. I remember one time all my girlfriends came to Florida in undergrad for spring break. And I was like, no, I have a test the Friday after spring break. And they were like, are you crazy?
Right.
Let's go have fun.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't go because I knew I needed to do this to get the grades I wanted.
Did you
I was competitive too,
Yeah.
so that's part of it.
Sure.
Do you feel like
Go
all
ahead.
of this that you're describing, like it seems like I know with my ADHD, what I find when I go into that hyperfocus mode, and God bless you for being able to hyperfocus on actual school, that was never my jam. Like I could
That was my
focus on a
blessing,
lot. Yeah,
actually.
you have the right wiring for that right now. But I'm just wondering, like the way you describe it, all I can think about is what kind of a toll that takes on you in the background. Like, did you find you were doing any sort of damage to yourself psychosocially, emotionally? Like, what was the cost of all of this?
The funny thing, like I've always been the one kid that I was never big on peer pressure. I knew what I wanted. I was always that child that knew what they wanted.
Yeah.
So if I have a goal, again with ADHD, I had this big value system. I was going to be a doctor because I wanted to go help these kids in Africa and nothing was going to stop me.
Mhm.
That's where our stubbornness, like when we lean into our strength, that stubbornness part of us, I leaned into it. And I also had someone when I was young told me I could never do it. And I had to show them I will do it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
had so many things. But when it comes to did he play to be honest, growing up, I didn't really realize there was anything wrong with me. I just thought that was me.
Mhm.
I love to learn. I'm going to kick butts
Mhm.
and I'm going to do whatever it is to kick butt, right?
Yeah.
And I give examples of I was like, mine was learning. Simone Biles was gymnastics.
Mhm.
Phelps was swimming.
Mhm.
They just go all out. Like there's sometimes my mom will come and be like, I don't understand how I have to get mad at you for studying so hard. Turn off the light and go to bed.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
That was my thing. Um, but it wasn't until then when she was like, I think she had ADHD in
Mhm.
retrospect. She was like, I think you have ADHD. And to be honest, I was taken aback. I was like, how dare she?
Yeah.
And this is
Right.
coming
Like,
from your mom.
no. This is the attending when I was in medical school. When she
Okay.
asked
Yeah.
me about my grades, and I
I
was like,
see.
oh, actually, my grades are good, as in like the grades
Yeah.
in school, but standardized tests. The reason was so hard was like they had long stems, and you
Yeah.
know how it is. We can't read anything long.
Yeah.
And it was just like, ugh, I hated standardized tests. I have anxiety thinking about it.
Yeah.
Um, So, and
Yeah.
she was like, I think you have ADHD. She was like, I've seen your passion. She knew the nuances that came with ADHD.
Does that
She
trigger
was able
anything
to
for you?
recognize.
Did you resonate with that when she told you? You were like, oh, yeah, I
No,
probably do. Or no, like, when did it click?
no. When she said that, I took it quite offensive.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was like, how dare she say I have ADHD? Because guess what? Even in medicine, it's just recently I and some of my physician friends are changing the narrative, even in medicine,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, sure.
Because what they taught us in medicine is hyperfocus, don't do well in school. Like, I thought I was opposite of someone who had ADHD.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This was, of course, 2008, 2009 era, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, of course I don't have ADHD. I'm the top of the class.
Yeah.
Excuse
Right.
me,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
very defensive. And she said, you know what, just do me a favor, go see student services. We have an amazing neuropsychologist. Just go see them. Just humor me.
Just see what
And
you might
and
find out.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was like, it may not be ADHD, but at least you know. Just go. Because it doesn't make sense that I know you know your stuff.
Yeah.
You should be getting hundreds on your stuff. Like there's something going on. And because I respected her, that was the only reason why I did it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting. So how do you find out, how do you start learning to adapt to this new reality that you have ADHD?
So when I did the test, it came back positive. They said I had severe inattentiveness.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't believe
How is
it.
that
And I still did not.
possible?
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way. Like, I'm attentive. And he asked me, so how do you study? I was like, well, when I want to study, well, I don't really go to class because I'm very distracted. So I just study in the library all morning. And I have to use a certain kind of music, and I have to do, and I'm telling him all the things I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And he's like, Lola, you do realize that everybody does that. I'm like, yeah, but it's different.
It's
Yeah.
just different.
Wow, that's
Wow.
fascinating.
And I had another exam coming up.
hmm
And he was like, let's just humor me. I'm going to send you a psychiatrist. Let's just try, some medication. And I still was resistant. I was
hmm
like, why are they trying to label me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why are they trying to label me? I saw it as a negative thing. And I see it sometimes in some of my clients, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of time I was like, I don't care what you call it. I don't care what label you put on it. All I know is you're not achieving this and we
Mm-hmm.
need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
There's issues.
Because
Yeah.
that was my holdup from getting actual help, because I did not want to be labeled as someone who had ADHD. Because for me, I was not perfect. I was
Yeah.
not like there was something wrong with me. I mean, now I know. Now I'm like, it's my superpower.
Right.
But back then, I felt like there was something wrong with me. So I did not want to confront it. So I listened. I went to the psychiatrist. I took the medicine. I'm just going to humor them. The first week I took the medicine while I was studying, I was like, wait, this is how people think? Like, there's not always like something going on in people's mind. That was the first time I noticed, like, wait a minute. And then I would ask my sister, so do you have a time when your brain is just quiet? And she's like, yeah, why? I was like, oh, okay, just wondering. Like, my brain is always on
Yeah.
100,
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and I did my test and I got a 99 percentile ever on the standardized test.
Wow.
And that was when I was like, again, I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
There was a hypothesis. I did the experiment and the experiment confirmed it. And that was when I
Results.
accepted it. And to be honest, you would think I would be happy. I cried. I went into the grieving process
Yeah.
because I'm like, what life could be,
Yeah.
right?
Suddenly
All
this
the
is
things I
real.
make.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And it took me another 5 years when I, got married and things started. And I was like, wait, my
Yeah.
ADHD is working. And then I started researching more about it.
hmm
And it's funny, like I fell into coaching because my friends would come in and they say, you're such an amazing organizer. You're so this, like everything that is not quote unquote ADHD, because I always have things in place.
Mhm.
So I started doing life strategies for women, busy women, like professional women.
Well,
Mhm.
I want to talk about how you made that two transitions, right?
Transition.
One
Yeah.
is that you're a physician, and that's
Yeah, I still am.
like that seems like
That's a big
I know
job.
I know some physicians, and they're not people who seem to have a lot of time on their hands. And
Yeah.
so you've decided to be a physician and coach and lifestyle strategist, and have this LollieTasking thing. What made you decide to make that switch to add coaching, lifestyle, ADHD to your already full boat?
Oh Lord, that's a very good question. I always say I fell into it. So I love what I love. When I love things, I love to do it and I find a way to do it. That's the long and short of
Yeah.
it. So I'm a pediatric cardiologist, very busy, hands down.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I'm also a fetal cardiologist, but that's beside the point. So, so when it's funny because I used to do a lot of traveling and used to give advice. I just love talking to people. I've always been like that, very jovial. And I would have friends come in and like, Lola, you seem like you have it all together. Like, how do you do it?
Mhm.
Right. So I said, sure, again. I'm learning now boundaries, right? Like I jump, I'm very impulsive in helping people, right?
Yeah, I don't
So
know
I'm like,
anything
yeah,
about
come
that.
over
Right.
to yeah. I'm like, come over to my house, we'll sit down. And I basically take over their life. I'm like, this is what I do. Here's my strategy. And da, 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 da. And I basically, in the span of 4 or 5 hours, I create a whole strategy for them, right?
Mhm.
And they take that strategy and they take it home. And they're like, whoa, this works for me. So you can imagine if it works for someone who has ADHD, someone who doesn't have ADHD, they're like, whoa, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
So my friends would tell other friends, and then other friends would tell other friends. And that's how I became a quote unquote lifestyle strategist. And the first year I did it just because it was fun. I
Mhm. actually
actually loved doing it. It was more of like a hobby for me,
Mhm.
something that was not in the sciences and was still fun. It was
Mhm.
still,
What were
strategizing.
the kind of topics that you worked on with those folks? Like, I mean, was it home related, work related, everything?
Yeah, so it was basically whole life planning. It was more
Mhm.
basically creating a life plan for
I
them.
see.
So they will come, a lot of them were physicians just because that's who I know majority, because I was a nerd and all my friends were doctors.
A question on that before you dive in.
Yeah.
What is is ADHD of some prominence in the physician community?
Yep. And this people didn't realize till recently. And I could tell you exactly the specialty they go into. Emergency medicine.
Oh, sure.
We thrive under pressure,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And things like cardiology, which I am.
Yeah.
Because in cardiology, you don't have to memorize. Everything is pumps and electricity.
Yeah.
So it's like math. That's why I like math too. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to memorize anything. Once I know the formula, I can figure it out, So
Well, and it changes gears so
sucks.
fast. Like everything changes so fast, like emergency medicine. Like when if the heart is stopping, you have to do something about it. Like it just you act. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're not doing the same thing over and over
Yeah.
again. So, like with me, I'm a pediatric cardiologist. One day I do fetal cardiology, another day I do TEE, which is imaging the heart during surgery. And so, like, I have a lot of variety that keeps it fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I always knew I could not be in an office doing the same thing over and over again. I
Sure.
knew that even when I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
I was like, I would die,
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, but going back to what I was saying, like the ladies will come to me and I'll basically create like a plan for them. Okay, this is what you need to do. This is what your schedule is. Do you have a routine? So basically,
I
a
see.
lot of the things I do right now
Mhm.
for even my ADHD clients, except with my ADHD client, I use more ADHD language and things that pertains to them more. Yeah, and they will do all this thing. They're like, whoa, like I have so much free time,
Yeah.
and I always talk about rest, where I talk about the wealthy, wholesome life,
Mhm.
having rest, having time. Because the problem with ambitious women is like we do for everybody and we don't rest
Yeah.
and recharge. So like I would go through all that with them. But then while doing it, I found out that a lot of us that were coming to me had ADHD.
Yeah.
Or like I would talk to them and I'd be like, sis, you're like me,
Yeah.
and I would say maybe out of about a good 20 to 30%, I recommended to go see somebody, and for sure they had ADHD diagnosed in their 30s and 40s,
Yeah.
Interesting.
you
Fascinating.
know. And when it got that much, and they would come to me like, can you coach me for my ADHD specific? I was like, I'm gonna go to school for that again.
Yeah.
So,
And where did you get the
so
training for the ADHD coaching?
I went to ADD Coaching Academy after.
That's where I went. Yep.
So,
Okay.
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, as you know, it's an amazing
It
program. I
is.
love it.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, I thought I knew ADHD, but after going to the school as a physician, I feel like this is a part of training even physicians need to learn.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's not taught. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times when people are like, my doctor did, I was like, don't be mad at them. We were
They
not
just
They
don't
don't
know.
taught,
know.
especially
Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't know. It's not just that's not how what we were. It's like a lot of things are not even in the DSM, which we use to
Mhm.
like, diagnose these things,
Mhm.
And so I'm really glad I did. And now I'm actually doing my advanced master's coaching
Mhm.
training now. So
Wow. So
yeah,
how do you do all these things and yourself and not get burnt out?
that's a very good question. I practice what I preach.
Mhm.
I have boundaries. So for example, I have a membership program where I only coach in a membership program once a week,
Mm-hmm.
so that's protected time that my family knows because I do have family time. And then I don't do more than 2 one-on-one coaching. That's it.
Yes.
Because at this point in time, I'm doing it because I love it,
Right.
right? Not necessarily financial. I do think, just keeping it real, I do think there's a time where I'm going to move to maybe 50% in my clinical work
Mm-hmm.
as a physician, and then do coaching 50%
Mm-hmm.
because I do love it. When you know that feeling when a client like gets to their goal. It's like we won the Olympics together, gold,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So I love it. And at the same time, I love when I help a child with heart condition. So I
Yeah.
do not see myself giving up medicine, and I don't see myself giving up coaching. So they're just going to have to coexist.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you found a way to create those boundaries so you can do both, as
Absolutely.
well as creating the boundary for yourself and your family. Not an easy thing to do.
Absolutely.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question. We often, like,
Yes.
sometimes we have gendered conversations on this show, but most of the time it's pretty gender neutral on the show. But
Mhm.
occasionally, like, your business is focused on overwhelmed, busy women. What
Mhm.
was it that led you to that decision, working exclusively focused on women? Where are my dudes at?
You know what? I've had members reach out to me all the time. They're like, "Why are you discriminating against us?" And I was like, it really happened the way it happened,
Yeah.
Sure.
right? It started with moms that were like, "Listen, how are you doing it?" Right?
Yeah.
Dads weren't coming to me, you know? And then it evolved into, oh, this woman had ADHD. And to be honest, it was who I connected with.
Yeah, of
Mm.
I
course.
connected more with the women. And knowing my ADHD, I do things that I love. Right? Not that I don't love you guys. Don't get me wrong.
No, I heard
I
it. You
love
said it.
I
No,
love
you
you
said it.
guys.
That's it. It's out.
I
I get it. I get it.
but I am very passion driven.
Yeah.
I'm a very passion driven person. You cannot get me to clean the floor if I don't feel like doing it. Like it
Mhm.
is just heavy. So I lean into my strengths, and my strength, I love to. I mean, like I can't talk to you about like the shoes I just bought yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna feel me. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
and
All right. That's fair.
it is fair. And it's tough too, I think, when you're looking at ambitious women, because the roles, when we look at traditional roles, a lot of those roles still stay true, whether we like it or not.
absolutely.
Women still do a lot for the home and management of the home and the kids, and then you try to throw in a career. Not downplaying Pete, the men of the world.
Not
at all, because it's hard.
Some men do.
Yeah.
And some men do. But
Absolutely.
majority.
Yeah. But it can really feel isolating if you're, when you feel like you're by yourself and you feel like your life is falling apart and you're not really sure what to do. To have resources like yourself and other coaches and therapists, everybody in this realm that helps with people with ADHD, it makes a difference. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of my sisters, and I call the women my sisters, a lot of my sisters end up quitting because they're like, I can't do it all.
Right.
But sometimes it's just putting the structure in place. Um, I love my children. I love my husband, but I've just never been one of those people that wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, right? Like I actually love being in the clinic and I love being able to do both. But I'm also that mom at the soccer game that's like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to do it all. So how do you do it all without burnout? And that's really what my passion is about. It really starts in creating those hard boundaries. Part of the boundaries may be limiting the amount of sports your kids play. Like my kids are limited to one sport. You are limited to one sport every 6 weeks. If after the 6 weeks you want to try another one, that's up to you. But this mama right here does not have the time to go from soccer to volleyball to basketball to, a game.
Yeah.
Some people may say that's not fair. Kids should. I'm like, there's only one me. So we got to work what works in our family, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So now my kids are doing soccer. Next month, one of them wants to try basketball. That's okay. But we got to make sure, and I make sure they do it for the 6 week. We're not going to stop after a week. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
We're going to go through it and decide if we
Mhm.
really like it or continue it or not. So those are like when we say boundaries, sometimes it may not even be boundaries on us. Sometimes it's boundary on the things we accept,
That's a
you know,
very
for
good
our
point.
family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Very good point. What else would you recommend? So boundaries is something that you would do to prevent that burnout. What is another like maybe system or strategy that you would talk to your clients about to help them with this?
I'll say two things. The number one thing is rest.
Mm,
We have a hard time resting as ambitious women. We want to do it all.
yeah.
You know, sometimes it's because, oh, well, when my husband does it, he just doesn't do it as good as I do it. Or I just, it costs a little bit more if I hire help. Or, it's just better if I just do it. It's faster,
Mhm.
And one of the hardest things, believe it or not, is getting my clients to realize that if you do not charge your battery, you're actually not giving your family, your children, everybody the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And I akin it to like an iPhone battery. I use iPhone, nothing against Android, because that's what I use. But like on the iPhone battery, when it's at 10%, it goes yellow,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
A lot of moms, especially working moms, are on, I don't want to take away from the women who work at home as well, but they're on 10% constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No wonder you lash out at your kids and then you lash out at the people who love you the most, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not refueling yourself. So my number one thing, actually, when we start is we work on sleep. What is your bedtime? When are you resting?
Yeah.
When we're doing planning, guess what we planned first? When are we taking vacation? When are we
Oh,
taking time
right.
out for ourselves? That's the first thing we plan, because a lot of time with women, we plan everything else and then we look for, oh, okay, where
I
am
have
I
a
going to
half
rest
hour
in
here,
between?
or
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
right, yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And actually, when we plan, I don't say we have 24 hours in a day. I say we have 16 hours in a day. What do you want to do with that 16 hours? They're like, what do you mean 16 hours? You're sleeping 8 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what are we going to do with the 16 hours? So the number one thing is rest and creating time for yourself. I call it self-fulfillment. It's not being selfish.
Right.
When you're self-full, then you overpour,
Mhm.
then your cup can really
Mhm.
overflow, and then you could give those extra.
Mhm.
But if you're at 10% already, you burn out,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So like for me, oh, trust me, I went to Tanzania this summer. I had a vacation. I sleep. I
Mhm.
don't play with my sleep,
Mhm.
So number one. Number two, definitely is boundaries. Number three is delegating.
Tell us
Okay.
about that.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Like, that's another fight we have to fight.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are like, it's just better if I do it. Or like if my husband does it, it's not as good. And I do something called SOP. Like in business, you have like system operating procedures. Create an operating procedure for your family. Okay, you don't like the way he unloads the dishwasher. Tell him how to do it.
Hmm.
If he does it wrong 3 times, keep telling him how to do it.
Can you
I'm
dock his
serious.
pay?
Not necessarily. And a lot of time it's not what you say, it's how you say it,
Yeah.
right? It's like, honey, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Okay, this is how I usually do it. Do you think you could help me do it like that? Thank you. You're the best,
Yeah.
That's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I tell people, oh yeah, my husband helps me with this, is because I have allowed him to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of times we women, we don't want to hear this, but we're a little controlling.
Mhm. Right.
We want to do it our way and our way only.
And feel like we can
And-
do it all. Like, I think that's the thing too. And the pressure of not only can I do it all, I should be doing it all. Like, so then you start comparing yourself with other people and what you think other people are
Oh,
doing. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And that I that's one of the things we fight about. I'm like, oh no, we're not comparing.
Yeah.
Because I tell people I'm the only Dr. Lola that's a cardiologist and also a coach, has 3 kids and is married to who I'm married to. So who
Mhm.
am I going to compare myself to?
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
You only need to compare yourself to yourself, right? And I think it's a little toxic when we think we should be doing it all. I saw a
Mhm.
meme the other day. Only women can wake up and do this and do this and do this and do this. Strong women, no. Tired women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know,
Oh, God.
Burnt
that
out.
should not be the
10%.
Yeah.
I
right.
I'm so glad
10%.
you bring that up because I think going forward, and listeners do this too. Where are you on your iPhone? Are you at 10%? And
But you
how
know
do
what's
you get
interesting?
to 20 or 30, right? Like, let's increase
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I have 2 observations. One on that metaphor, which is, and this is, so now I'm talking just about my wife because she's the one that I'm observing doing all this stuff. So she's always in yellow mode. Like, you know how when the
Mhm,
iPhone, once you recharge it, like you have a choice to take it out of low power mode. And most of the time
mhm.
she never takes it out of low power mode. And that I think is kind of
Ah,
exacerbates the feeling. Like even when she's charged, she's not operating on full power, right? Because she's kind of exhausted.
mhm.
But the other thing that I think is interesting, and we've gone back and forth about this over the 23 years of our marriage, is my impression is that she has set a standard for how things are done that she's responsible for, like grocery shopping or whatever. Like I do the laundry, but she does the grocery shopping. And so when I have to do the grocery shopping, my impression is her feeling is she's letting me down because she set a standard so high that
Aw.
she feels like it's a problem because she hasn't taught me how to do that. And that just exacerbates the
Mhm,
feeling of exhaustion that she can't let it go because she's letting everybody down if she doesn't do it the way we've come to expect it, which is kind of a
mhm.
weird way around like looking at this from a perspective of kindness. Like we're all very,
Yes.
very
No,
glad that she's willing to do
absolutely.
that and has
Yeah,
been
yeah.
so conscientious of it, but she's exhausted though when it comes to that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And can I just commend you? You're an amazing husband for even realizing and having that awareness, right? Because some issue I have with some of my clients is their husband now expect that of them.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to retrain them that no, 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 this is not normal, right? So the fact that you have that is an amazing place to start from. And it starts from conversation. Like going to and be like, listen,
Yeah.
let's start this all over again. You are not expected. And some women, especially like high ambitious women, we put that expectation on ourselves. Nobody cares. We do.
Right.
We are the one
Right.
who put that expectation on ourselves. And letting go of some of that expectation. I gave an example on how obviously I'm a cardiologist. I want my kids to eat healthy, screen time is important, and blah, 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 blah. There was a week where like I wasn't gonna be around. It's just we lost our babysitter, we lost our help. It was, and my husband said, I'm going to make lunch for the kids. And I was like, great, thank God. And I came downstairs and I was like, oh my gosh, my kids are eating Oreos. I started to unpack the I'm laughing because I still remember, like I said, I started to unpack it and I was like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're not gonna die if they eat Oreos
Right.
like one day. Like it wasn't just Oreos, it was other things too. But it was more like it wasn't the way I would do it,
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And now I'm being controlling. He is trying to take some of that load away from me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, and I came down, I joked about it. I was like, oh, we know daddy packed lunch today. You guys are getting, and the kids started laughing. We made it a joke. We talked about it. I was like, baby, I think Oreos was good today, but maybe we could put a little carrot to it
Yeah.
tomorrow
Yeah.
too,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And guess what? That was a year and a half ago. Since then, he has been packing their lunch for school.
There you go.
And
Nice.
guess what? Now he tells me, no, 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 don't put that in there. And now he is taking over and does it way better. than I do. There's still some things I don't agree with, but I have learned to choose my battles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Well, and that's kind of like with the dishwasher thing, because I think that, maybe another alternative is to show him, but also just like let it go. Like just let that
Mhm.
go, because like you said, now you've got some help here, right? Like, okay, all right, got some help. I'm
Absolutely.
going to appreciate that. And sometimes you probably, you might not be
Yeah.
able to let it go, but for the most part, it's great that you can share those things and delegate. Like you said, I mean, this
Oh,
all goes back to delegating.
It's huge.
and and then your kids, put them to work as
Yeah.
soon as they
Yes.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I tell people my youngest now is 5, and he sorts his own laundry, and they're like, "Wait, what?"
Mhm.
Yes, why not? He knows his colors.
Right.
We make a joke out of it. We make it fun. And he's telling me the problem comes when you have the multicolored clothes.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, 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 mommy, this has green. I'm like, okay, we'll put all those on one side and mommy will sort those out. You know,
Yes.
it teaches them responsibility. You don't have to be the one to do everything. And yes, do they do it perfectly? Of course
No.
not,
No.
right? But it even if you were supposed to do 100% and now you're doing 70%, that's still better than the 100% you were supposed to do.
Well,
Absolutely.
And I call that partial delegation. And people don't think about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When they think delegation, they think all or none.
Yeah.
I need someone to clean my entire house, and it's like another for $200 every week. I
Mhm.
cannot get someone to do that. How about you get someone to just come clean all the toilets?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because you
Right.
hate cleaning toilets,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Right. That's
And
a
pay $50.
great point. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really great
You
point.
know,
I
that still takes away from
Something.
some of the stress.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, during the pandemic, we actually my kids were middle school, high school. Now they're one off to college and one's a busy junior in high school. But some years ago, we started having them join the rotation for making dinner for the family, and it wasn't always great dinner. It wasn't always great. But you know what? It was made for the family, and they learned and they figured it out. And that was amazing. That was amazing. And they got to feel what it feels like when someone else makes dinner for them after they've already been responsible to make dinner themselves. And that relief is amazing. And they felt much more gracious even about it when it was made for them, even by those of us who make dinner. And so I think that is, I think that was really, really useful. And then, they go back to school and nobody's making dinner for me anymore. And I'm like, what? What's up with that?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but it's just really delightful to use some of that stuff. Let's talk about LollieTasking. Where'd that come from?
Yes. So LollieTasking started as a podcast. I actually started just for the women when I would coach them and people would want to learn more. So I have a podcast that's just LollieTasking, where it talks that I interviewed a lot of like busy moms and ambitious mom, and they talk about how they juggle everything. And then when I started coaching, I basically turned my coach into the same name.
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay, the business is LollieTasking. My full name is Lola Day. I can tell you. And Lolly was always a nickname they called me growing up.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
LollieTasking is not multitasking because we don't multitask.
Right.
It's doing things my own way. And I encourage people to do things their own way because that's the way that works the best, right? Oh, you have to do things not how Jimmy's mom, who's the best mom in the world, does it, right? And I'm trying to live up to her standard.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm living to Lola's standard. And I joke when it comes to my clients, I'm like, okay, so how are we going to Jamie task this?
Love it.
How are we going to,
I
so
love
that's how
it.
Lolly
Yeah.
tasking
Nikki is already taken for Nikki Task.
Nikki
That's already
tasking. I
fixed.
like
Nikki
it.
Nikki
Tasking.
tasking,
And
love it.
And
We have the Nikki
I'm not
tasking.
sure PD Task actually lives up to the
We
standard.
can say
PD
just say
task?
peak task.
Pete
Pete task.
tasking.
Pete
Yeah,
task.
Pete
Peak
task.
All right.
task.
All
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's
That's
very
how
funny.
the business came in, and that's how the podcast came in. And I just, again, with the podcasting, I record when I feel like,
Yeah.
and I I have multiple just waiting to be released, 20 releases.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I just try not to overdo it. I do it because it's fun and I have time to do it.
I love it. I love it.
Lovely.
So where can people find all of your different services and things that you offer?
So you can go to www.LollieTasking.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at LollieTasker.
Okay.
That's a little different with an ER instead of an ING, because for whatever reason, they wouldn't let me do ING.
Yeah.
And you can also email me at hello@LollieTasking.com.
Love it.
Love it.
Thank you
Love it.
so
Love
much.
it. Thank you. Yeah,
So
you're
thank you for
fantastic.
having
You are a
me.
delight.
Oh,
and
you guys are amazing.
so great for you to be hanging out in your closet for a podcast with us. Did I say that out loud? That's right. She's in she's in her closet.
It's okay.
It's amazing. Professional podcasters here, the lot of us.
Yep.
We're so glad to have you. All the links are in the show notes. Definitely go check it out. Subscribe to the podcast. I've just looked at the website. It looks like episode 39 is live now, and there are so many fantastic resources in here. So check it out. And thank you, everybody. We appreciate you for downloading and listening to this show. Thanks for your time and attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute to the conversation, we are heading over to the Show Talk channel in our Discord server, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.